Bradford City continue their 2025-26 League One campaign with an away clash against Ian Everts at Blackpool FC, and in today's video you're going to find out how both teams have got on so far this season, what my starting 11 would be for this game if I was Graham Alexander. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, then make sure to like, comment and subscribe. But my team Bradford City, we currently sit third in the League One table. After 23 matches, we've got 12 wins, 7 draws and 4 defeats, scoring 32 goals and also conceding 24, which leaves us on a positive 8 goal difference and 43 points. Our last couple of matches then have been a loss, a win, a loss and a win. So 4 losses for us in the league so far this campaign, and half of them have come in our last 4 matches, which is obviously not ideal. And our most recent match was a terrible 3-0 defeat away at Mansfield Town, a nightmare start to 2026 for Bradford City, and we all knew that this was going to come really. As soon as we saw the starting 11, we understand obviously over the festive period there's going to be changes, there's going to be rotation, but good grief, there is very little League One quality in that side. You look at the likes of Neil Byrne and Callum Kavanagh as big standouts, even Tyreek Wright playing as an attacker. There's no wonder why we got absolutely destroyed in this game. But even some of our better players who performed quite well recently, the likes of Joe Wright was really poor, Stephen Humphries had a bad game, even Brad Halliday wasn't great whatsoever. So we'll be hoping to bounce back from this one comfortably. Our worst performance of the season so far. And we've had a couple of these away at Doncaster both times really, in the league and in the cup, away at Bolton in the trophy as well. I think January's come at a great time for Bradford City, even though January comes at the same time every year for anybody. You know, it comes after December, but that was an absolutely tragic game of football from our point of view. We also had a 1-0 win at home to Port Vale. Clearly this Port Vale side, since sacking Darren Moore, are a super team, as they put 5 past Blackpool, which we'll get onto in a moment, in their most recent game. But Jensen Metcalf scoring the winner in the 67th minute, an absolutely outstanding strike right into the top corner, and a case of job done in what was a very tough and battling game for Bradford City. We also had a 2-1 win at home to Wigan Athletic. They got a couple of red cards in this one. Unlucky that this first foul, really, first yellow card for Jensen Weir wasn't a straight red, but great to see Stephen Humphries on the score sheet again against his former side, and Joe Wright popping up with a very important goal, another one in Bradford City colours to secure all 3 points really for Bradford City. Whenever you're playing against 9 men at home, you would like to get a win, and thankfully we managed to do that in the 90th minute. We also had a disappointing 2-1 defeat away at Leyton Orient. We were very good for the first 15-20 minutes up until we scored really. Then they made a tactical change, and it was 2 massive defensive errors really from Kieran Kelly, which unfortunately did cost us in that one. Sarswick also missed 2 absolute sitters, so it seems like we just weren't good enough in both boxes in this game, and it was a very disappointing result because Orient have been very poor after this game. And we also had a 2-0 win at home to Reading, a case of job done really for Bradford City. Sarswick and Poynton both finding themselves on the score sheet, and we know how important they have been in Bradford City colours so far this campaign. We very rarely win when even one of them misses a game, never mind both of them, like what happened against Mansfield. So Sars should definitely come back in against Blackpool, but I think Poynton again is a big doubt, which will be another big blow for Bradford City. But who knows, could Lewis Sibley get his first start in Bradford City colours? Compared though to Blackpool FC, they couldn't sit down in 17th position in the League One table. After 24 matches, they've got 8 wins, 5 draws and 11 defeats, scoring 30 goals and also conceding 35, which leaves them on a -5 goal difference and 29 points. Their last couple of matches then have been a loss, a win, and a draw. Obviously this is the first fixture that we have played so far this campaign where we have actually already played every one of these sides. Obviously we have played Port Vale, even though we're meant to have already played them twice by now, but obviously we beat Blackpool 1-0 in the reverse fixture. Josh Nerfville scoring the only goal of the game in that one, and that was probably the start of our downfall really, because that wasn't a great performance on that day. And I know I said downfall, we're third in League One, but in terms of performances, and we can't really use the high press anymore, teams don't really let us do that, but that was certainly not a great game. In terms of Port Vale's last couple of matches then, you don't care about Port Vale's last couple of matches. Blackpool's last couple of matches, in their most recent game on New Year's Day, they had a tragic 5-1 defeat away at Port Vale. They were 1-0 up going into half-time. James Husband was sent off for what is in this day and age probably a red card, but it's absolutely ridiculous that that's what the law says. Does any football fan want to see that be a red card? I do think it was incredibly harsh, and obviously that has not been overturned. Their appeal was rejected, so he will be suspended now for the next 3 games. But Tom Bloxham has been a player reborn, same as Ashley Fletcher under Ian Evatt, so we've got to keep an eye out for them. Blackpool are certainly a goal threat, but you look at the defending for some of the goals that they conceded. You even see bloody Devante Cole scoring goals, which, yeah, he's an absolutely awful footballer and always will be. But a brilliant win for Port Vale. Blackpool, they'll be hoping it was just a bit of an off day because of the red card. Prior to that, they had a fantastic 4-0 win at home to Rotherham. They were 2-0 up before the red card even came in, and I know Rotherham are an absolutely awful team, but again, you see here Bloxham, Fletcher in and amongst the goal contributions. Looking at the stats from the game, a comfortably deserved win for Blackpool. Maybe the scoreline did flatter them a little bit, maybe 2 or 3-0 maximum would have been a little bit more fair on how the stats do show it, but clearly Blackpool are ruthless going forward. They also had a 1-0 win at home to Doncaster. Danny Imrie again in amongst the goal contributions from right back. He is a very important player to them, and Tom Bloxham again finding himself on the score sheet, but credit to Blackpool, we always do like to see Doncaster lose. They also had a 2-0 win away at Wigan Athletic. 2 former players in Fletcher and Taylor both scoring and assisting in this game, and we know, having played Wigan quite recently, that defensively they are pretty strong. And looking at the stats from the game, maybe you could argue Wigan did deserve more out of it, but that goes to show Blackpool, they don't really give up many goals. I know they conceded 5 to Port Vale, but that was when they did have 10 men. When they've got 11 on the pitch, they are very strong defensively under Ian Evatt. And they also had a very impressive 2-2 draw at home to Lincoln. Say they were 2-0 down after 18 minutes. They managed to get back into the game and rescue a point out of that one. So it's certainly going to be a very tough game for Bradford City. This is a very different Blackpool side to the one that came to Valley Parade back in September under Steve Bruce. I think we could be in for a real tough game in this one. We've got to be on our A game. You cannot show up like how we did against Mansfield. There's absolutely no way you can allow that to happen again. Before we do go any further though with today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 140 likes on today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below your starting 11 for this match. There's definitely going to be changes after that absolutely tragic performance against Mansfield. And also let me know down below your score prediction. Me personally, I wouldn't be surprised if there's pretty much 6 or 7 changes, or 6 or 8 changes. Now, I would personally stick with the 3-4-2-1 formation. We've got options if we do need to tweak it and change it, but like I just mentioned there, I have made a lot of changes for this one because that performance against Mansfield was not just bad, it was absolutely awful. One of the worst we've ever seen under Graham Alexander, and I have no problems with losing as long as we've given it a real go and we've tried as best. But you got players shirking tackles and bottling challenges, not winning enough duels, not good enough all over the park. But in goal, I would go with Sam Walker. Certainly not his fault why we lost that game against Mansfield 3-0. I think he could have done a lot better for the first goal, in all honesty. I think he potentially could do better for the third goal. Second one they can do nothing about, but he did make a great save right at the end of the first half. But I certainly don't put the defeat down to Sam Walker whatsoever, and on the whole he has been very good for us so far this campaign. In terms of a back 3 then, obviously still no Aidan Baldwin, it's still no Matt Pennington available for Bradford City, so it kind of does force our hand a little bit. Looking at how awful the back 3 were against Mansfield, I'd change them entirely. Right centre back, I would go with Tom McIntyre. Now, I personally hate playing left-footed centre-backs on the right of a back 3 or a right-footed centre-back on the left of a back 3. I hate doing that, but I tell you what I hate more, watching Neil Byrne try and play football. He's just not good enough. He's nowhere near League 1 standard. Thank you for helping us get promoted out of League 2. You are a League 2 player at most. How he's still getting picked to play in League 1 is absolutely criminal. McIntyre deserves an opportunity, and when you look at the back 3 that I've picked, I think he would certainly suit that role the best, given that he is the most comfortable on the ball. In the middle, I would go with Curtis Till. It would be nice to see him get a start against his former side. I understood why he came out against against Mansfield, given that he'd just come back from nearly a 4-month injury. To ask him to play Monday, Thursday would then be a lot to do back-to-back 90 minutes. But he has to come back in for this game. He's had more than enough rest now, and we need somebody physical to deal with the threat of Bloxham or of Fletcher. And I think Curtis Till certainly is the man to do that. And completing my back 3 then at left centre-back, I would go with Ibu Toure. Again, I don't want to see Joe Wright, who had an awful game against Mansfield. Kieran Kelly was very poor. I've just said about Neil Byrne there. Obviously, Baldwin and Pennington are both unavailable. I think it's certainly a position we need to improve in this transfer window, but Toure, I'd like to see be moved back into the left centre-back position. I thought he was one of 2 players who took any type of credit away from the game against Mansfield, and I think even then he's probably a 3 out of 10. We were awful all over the park, so hopefully we can get a reaction in this one. In terms of my midfield four then, at right wing back I would go with Josh Nerthville. I think Brad Halliday had been very good recently, but against Mansfield wasn't great. Missed a really good opportunity at 0-0 inside the first 5 or 10 minutes where, yeah, he makes the keeper work for his first shot, but then the second one just blazes it. I think it probably went out of the stadium. So Nerthville, he's had practically around a month or so on the bench. He hasn't really played that much football recently. He scored the winner in the reverse fixture, so hopefully he does get a start in this one, and I think Blackpool have got quite a big pitch, so that might suit his game. In terms of my two central midfielders, firstly I would go with Jensen Metcalfe. He, for me, alongside Ibu Toure, was one of our only players to take any real credit away from that game against Mansfield, and even then, by Metcalfe's recent standards, it certainly wasn't his best performance in a Bradford City shirt. There was a few sloppy passes, but I think that comes from a lack of movement, really, from the front three. Very static against the Stags, but I would like to see Metcalfe get another start. And partnering him, I would go with Alex Patterson. Now, this is obviously not going to happen, but again, this is my team that I would play. Max Power, for me, had a really, really bad game against Mansfield. Not just the third goal, which is a massive error and totally unavoidable. Yes, he came out in the post-match and took accountability. Fair play for doing that, all that sort of stuff. You know, we've seen, captains in years gone by not necessarily do that, but unfortunately, if you're not doing your job on the pitch, then I do think that causes for changes. Now, obviously, Alex Patterson is leaving Bradford City. He's absolutely ridiculous, I would say, that he can't even get into the matchday squad at this moment in time, but given how bad we were against Mansfield, why not make some changes and give some players an opportunity? And when you look at the midfielders that Blackpool have got, there's a lack of pace in there, and Metcalfe and Patterson could certainly run all over the likes of Lee Evans and Brown, those type of players. I think Metcalfe and Patterson could work. Now, obviously, they're not going to play. It'll be probably Power and maybe Tommy Lee, might be Jensen Metcalfe, obviously won't be Alex Patterson, but this is my team, and that is what I would pick. And completing my team, my midfield four then, at left wing back would be Tyreek Wright. Obviously, I've moved Toure into the back three. I don't think Lewis Richards will be back available for selection just yet, so for that reason I would move Tyreek Wright back there. I thought he was terrible against Mansfield, especially in the first half. Just no goal threat whatsoever. I don't think he's a front three player. I think left wing back is certainly his best position, certainly has been so far this campaign. He's okay to come on off the bench to help us see a game out for Poynton, to use his pace, but he just doesn't offer enough goal threat, doesn't create enough chances, doesn't score enough goals, so for that reason he needs to be moved back into the left wing back position. But again, who knows what Alexander's going to be picking. I'm going to be looking forward to the team news tomorrow at 1:45, because I think there's certainly going to be some strange calls there, I would say. In terms of my front three then, firstly, as my right attacking midfielder, I would go with my captain for this game, and that would be Anthony Sarsfield. We massively missed him against Mansfield. Obviously, understandably, he was rested for that one, given that he played 2 back-to-back games against Wigan and Port Vale, played the full 19 of those, to then ask him to go again, given his injury history. I do think, again, it made sense to bring him out, but why are you bringing him out for Callum Kavanagh, who's just nowhere near League One level? He needs to go out on loan or be sold in this transfer window. I don't understand why we keep giving the same players these opportunities, the likes of Neil Byrne, Callum Kavanagh. We've not won a single league game so far this campaign when those two have started, either together or separately, so why do they still keep getting picked? I understood bringing Sars out, but surely you put Lapsley in there, a natural attacking midfielder, and not shoehorn a pressing striker in there who's not great with his back to goal, as we found out last campaign. So Sars comes back in for me, and hopefully he can deliver a good performance, because I do think he has been not up to his usual standards over the last couple of weeks. And as my left attacking midfielder, as we know, Bobby Poynton is a big doubt for this game, which is a massive blow for Bradford City, but I would bring in Lewis Sibley. Again, when you're looking at our options in that position, Sibley is left-footed, so would suit that. I've put Tyreek Wright in the left wing-back position. I don't think Sibley will come straight in. I also do think if he does come in, he won't be able to last more than an hour, given that he's only played 19 minutes of football all season. But we're kind of down to the bare bones in those attacking midfield positions. We're obviously not going to be able to sign anybody else before this game to have them registered in time. So Sibley, for me, I would like to see get a start and see what he is all about. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that loan move does develop. And as my striker then, it's not going to happen, but I would go with Andy Cook. I thought Stephen Humphries had one of those games that we've seen him had a couple of times this season where he doesn't look interested, he's not really running around, he's not challenging for duels, he was just kind of on the pitch. And unfortunately, I even at that point still think he should have stayed on the pitch over Callum Kavanagh. But I would go with Andy Cook for this game. Why not? I mean, it's not going to happen. We all know he's moving on. Again, similar to Alex Patterson, it does seem incredibly strange how we've put in a performance like that against Mansfield, and you're probably not going to see Patterson or Cook even in the matchday squad. Humphries had a really poor game, and I do think that was the type of match where you put somebody like an Andy Cook on against his former side. He always scores against Mansfield. We were getting the ball out wide, trying to cross it into the box, and Callum Kavanagh's not tall enough to head the ball, as we found out for their second goal. Will Swan, not really that type of striker. I think Humphries, Swan and Kavanagh are all very similar. We need somebody who can head the ball or wants to attack it, wants to head the ball. Very important as well from defensive set plays, and for me personally, Cook should be starting this game. He's obviously not going to, I'll be incredibly surprised if he's even on the bench, but let's just move on. Speaking of the bench, on there for me would be Joe Hilton, Brad Halliday, Joe Wright, Max Power, George Lapsley, Stephen Humphries and Will Swan. The players currently unavailable for Bradford City are Matt Pennington, Aidan Baldwin, Lewis Richards, Bobby Poynton and Nick Powell. So the players who missed out then through selection would be Neil Byrne, Kieran Kelly, Tommy Lee and also Callum Kavanagh. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 140 likes, as I said at the start of today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below your score prediction for this match and what would your starting 11 be as well. I'm sure we're going to see a couple of different ones down in the comment section because everybody has different opinions, especially when you come off the back of an absolute drumming against what is a mid-table side. So really disappointing. I'm expecting a reaction. It's been a nightmare trying to get tickets for this game, but I've just about managed to secure them. So I will see you all tomorrow for the match day vlog. So make sure to stay tuned for that over on the main channel. But thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one.